Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Lies, Lies, Lies. And today's episode is going to be a two-parter. First, to start us off, my name is Sammy, and I'm going to take you on a journey about how religion impacts adolescents to lie to their parents. So, first, starting off, I don't know about you guys, but I personally have lied a lot when growing up because I grew up in a religious household, and I remember having that kind of ethical ways of living and how I shouldn't lie, how I shouldn't murder, how I shouldn't deceive people or any of the 10 Commandments. I remember having those moral and ethical ways of living, and it kind of influenced me to lie. And so I don't know about you guys, but I would say you guys did too. I mean, if you didn't, good for you. You guys were able to live a non-conflicting life, I bet, with your parents. Just kidding. No assumptions here. But, so for this episode, these episodes, actually there's two, I'm going to give you guys two perspectives on one individual who did grow up in a household with religion and somewhat of a moral and ethical ways of living, who did lie a lot, and another perspective where religion was developed by themselves at age 16. So that kind of influenced their ways of living and how it changed their ways of lying and deceiving their parents. And so the two perspectives are really cool. So starting off, we first want to talk about how lying and deception is kind of like an overall thing that adolescents really commit in. So among 281 participants, 65% individuals lied to their parents about their location, and 49% lied about who they were with sexually, 41% lied about alcohol use, and among all of these, 85% of those 281 participants said that they are basically an honest person. So after hearing that, I mean, it kind of shows that people lie a lot. People lie often. We tell at least 3 to 2 lies a day. And so that was in one of my articles. That was by Deception of Parents During Adolescence by David Knox, Kirsten McGidney. So, in another article called Liar, Liar, Adolescence, Religiosity, and Lying to Parents by Scott Desmond and Rachel Krause, this article talked about how there are 4 major motives that influence lies in religion and religious households, which is lack of self-control, parental attachment styles, substance use, and substance use friends that use substances themselves. And so in another article, we got to talk about what religion is and how that kind of involves lies and deception. So in this article called Measuring Religiousness in Health Research, Review and Critique by Daniel Hall, Keith Meader, and Harold Koenig, they talk about how religiousness holds specific behaviors, doctrinal and social denominations, but overall it involves worship and doctrinal teaching that is shared among a group. And so in the Western culture, the most common religion is known as Christianity. And to let you know, both of these interviewees are Christians, and they have their own beliefs of who God is and what they believe in. And so I'll let them tell you what they believe in. And after hearing how religion may play a factor in many individuals' lives and many ways of living, it can be overwhelming as a child. And when hearing all of these doctrinal teaching and just attendance every day, going to church every day, and seeing your parents do all of these amazing things, it kind of plays a factor in how adolescents tend to lie so that they can be perceived as a perfect child that the parents would desire. And so this kind of touches base on the parental style, which is how parents' ways of reacting to the truth of what adolescents view as their natural reality, and how their natural reality might not align to their parents' beliefs. And so the way they react will determine if the child wants to tell the parent the truth. And so what we found was that individuals who develop their own religion and develop their own identity through religion themselves tend to not lie to their parents more, whereas adolescents who attend church frequently tend to lie to their parents more because they have not developed their own identity or religious beliefs themselves. So those are pretty much the readings and what the studies have found. And now you get to hear two different perspectives on how people lived it out. So yeah, have fun.
Hello. Today I'm going to be interviewing Juan. And Juan, if you can introduce your name and just a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name is Juan Rangel. I study music at the University of North Texas, 4th year. I'm currently married, no kids. I'm 21, from Brownsville, Texas. Currently living in Denton, Texas. And yeah.
Awesome. So today I'm interviewing you because I'm doing a research of lying deception where people in religious households or adolescents in religious households tend to lie most whenever they feel that pressure of being religious and have that understanding and morality of believing that honesty is the best policy. And we found that adolescents tend to lie most whenever they are in religious households and have the most church attendance. So with that being said, what are your religious beliefs?
I am a Christian, specifically Reformed Baptist. I believe the Bible, believe everything it says, and I trust Jesus with my life. Yeah, just Christian.
So whenever you were growing up in your adolescence household with your parents, did you have a religious belief by then? And did your parents as well?
Growing up, I didn't really have a religious belief, but so my case was a little bit different because growing up, I was mostly raised with my grandma, and my grandma was very religious. She was she still is a Christian, and growing up, she would go to church. Sometimes people would go to church with her, but I didn't really have my own kind of belief system. I kind of like knew of God, and I knew like kind of some of the basic things, but I didn't really like have that like faith like in Jesus. I didn't really have like a relationship at all. It was more just kind of culturally. I was like, yeah, like this is what I believe, but I didn't really know exactly like what that meant when I said I believe that.
Okay. So what, like when growing up, what was your approach to lying and deception whenever you were growing up in your grandparents' or your parents' house?
Growing up, as far as lying went, like I was always told by my grandma to not lie. And the biggest reason why is because she was like her love was very unconditional. So she was like, there's just no reason to lie because like even if you messed up and if you don't want to tell the truth, tell it and I'll still love you. So I never really lied to my grandma growing up. I was pretty like blunt with her. Sometimes I'd be a little too blunt, but I think for me, like, if I ever, like, did lie, which it was very rare with my grandma. Like, maybe it'd be something like, I don't know, like, oh, grandma, yes, I do have good grades in school. Even though I was just kind of having C's. Like, something like that. But as far as, like, really, really big things, I just wouldn't really lie to my grandma all that much. But, yeah, when I grew up with her, I was taught that I shouldn't lie to her. There was just no reason to lie to her at all.
So with that being said, like, you would say that you told more white lies than big lies? And the difference between white lies and big lies are like, white lies are seen as just little things to make sure that the other person is feeling pleased, if that makes sense. Yeah. And a big lie is like a ginormous lie that you intentionally want them to see a false facade of you as a person. So which one did you do most?
I'd say it was a whole lot of white lies. There wasn't really anything like crazy big that I lied about. Maybe there's things that I wouldn't necessarily tell the truth on. Or sorry, let me rephrase that. Like there were some things that I had secrets and things that I kept, but I don't really think it was lying per se because my grandma would never ask about them and she just never knew and she never found out. I think back then, if she were to somehow find out and she were to have suspicions about like some secrets that I had and she were to ask about it, I feel like I probably would have told her the truth. But like really big things I wouldn't like lie about. I kept a lot of secrets, but to me, I feel like keeping secrets and lying are different things. I think lying is whenever like someone asks you a question or someone wants you to be honest with them, like they want an honest answer, but you purposely tell them like a non-honest answer. Yeah, it's a long way of me saying mostly white lies. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's perfect. So, whenever you were growing up, how often did you attend church with your family?
I'd say with my grandma, throughout like middle school and maybe a little bit of high school, mostly middle school though, it would be like every other week. And then as I kind of got older, towards like 8th grade, 9th grade, it really became like once every like 2 months, sometimes once every 3 months. It'd be very rare. My grandma would always go to church, but eventually once I got old enough, I would wake up and she would always ask me like, do you want to go to church? And then sometimes I'd just be like, no, I'd rather sleep in. And then she would just let me sleep in. So probably around like 8th, 9th, kind of 10th grade, around that area, like once every 2 months, I would say. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, whenever also like growing up as well, did you partake in substance use or have any friends that were substance use as well?
I didn't partake in any substance use, but I did have some friends that did take it. Mainly just a lot of pot and a lot of vapes, but as far as me partaking and stuff like that, I never did it.
Okay. And did you notice that you would lie to your parents about the friends you had?
No, not really. I felt like my parents and my friends actually got along like pretty well. Like I wouldn't really lie. I'm trying to think like of a time when I did lie about that. I mean, I felt like with my parents, my mom, my grandma, they just knew my friends. I think the only time maybe I lied was like sometimes I would hang out with my friends a lot, and my grandma, I guess being religious as she was, she thought I was gay. 'Cause I just always hung out with a whole lot of my guy friends. She thought that a whole lot, and then I ended up having to like at the time all my friends were single, so I ended up having to lie to my grandma. Like not like a crazy big lie, but she'd be like, "Oh, like do they have girlfriends? Are they into girls?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, they got girlfriends. They got tons of girls." In reality, like they were single. They were nerds. We were all band nerds growing up. Not to say that band nerds can't like get girlfriends, but like growing up, like we were just all the nerds. We didn't really date around like that. But that was probably like the only time, just instances like that. But I wouldn't ever lie and be like, "Oh yeah," like I would never lie about who my friends were or like what kind of people they are. I was like I said, like we all bonded over music, and my grandma knew that. Like she just knew that these were my band friends, and they weren't really people that I was just trying to like make seem good when they were bad people. Like they were genuinely good people.
Okay. So, how would you describe the way your parents treated you when growing up? Parents or grandparents?
See, so my mom and dad are divorced. I felt like they both treated me pretty well. I'd say with my dad, he treated me more like just like the son that he always loved and he always would miss, because we would only really see him on weekends, and he would always kind of treat me like really well. Like he would treat me really good. He like would take me to fun places like bowling, or he would like take me to get new clothes. He would like spend quality time with me. But I felt like there was also like growing up and even looking back now, I felt like there was just kind of like this motive where like he was being really sweet to me, but I feel like he was being really sweet to me in order for me to like move in with him, because he kept wanting me to move in with him really, really bad. And then as for my mom, like growing up, she was there. Then she ended up going to law school for about like 6 years, so it was like a pretty good chunk of time. I just didn't really see her. It'd be like a couple times a year, but I felt like with her and I, like we were pretty tight growing up. Like she taught me to be thick-skinned. She taught me that it's okay to lose. It's okay to like fail at things. And as for my grandma was she was just really sweet. Like she would cook meals for us. She would take me to places. She would encourage me to like be healthy, and not in a way where she was like, "You're so big," and like you gotta do this and that, but more just like, "Hey, I love you and I want you to be healthy. Like we'll do this together. Let's go on walks together," kind of deal. So I felt like with all three parents, it was like a pretty good level of respect growing up. But also I feel like with my mom, like with her being in law school and her wanting to like be like, wanting to be a lawyer, wanting to have this big old career, like she kind of expected me to like surpass her, and she expected me to like kind of be better than she was. And my dad was more just like, I just want you to live with me. I just want you to be like in my life all the time. So it was pretty hard on like a whole lot of sides. Probably been easier if both parents were together, but yeah. If I just had to kind of summarize it, I'd say like all three treated me with a level of respect, but all three expected different things. Like my mom expected like greatness and for me to like surpass her, which isn't a bad thing to wish upon a child, but it's just that's what it was for her. My dad just expected me to just want to be with him all the time and just want to be a part of his life. And then my grandma just expected me to be a good kid. That was her whole thing. Like she was like, wow. Like she would always support me in like a lot of decisions I made, whether it be in music or college or whatever it be, just as long as I don't, get into trouble and I don't, be with the wrong crowd. Yeah.
Yeah. I could see how like you have a different relationship for every single parent, and how every parent you come across, depending on how they respond to the way you say the truth, it depends on if you can open up to them or if you don't open up to them. So it kind of goes back to like my study, and how it says that parental, like the way they respond to the truth determines if the child will lie to them or not. So like for your grandma, you were very close with her and you respected her because she was so sweet to you, and you genuinely felt like you couldn't lie to her because you just cherished her. And so that's kind of how it was with like in the study, is adolescents who tend to respect their parents more and the parents respect them as a child. The child doesn't end up lying, but the adolescent lies whenever they do feel disrespected or they do feel like they're a violation for their own personality. But anyways, so do you have any questions or remarks?
I mean, no question. It's more just, it's interesting. Like, I'd say throughout my whole life, lying is like, even throughout like I don't know, junior, senior year of high school, and the 4 years I've been here at UNT, like lying has been like a really, really big struggle. Because like sometimes I'm just really afraid of my truth, but lately it's been really good. Where like I don't see a need to lie anymore. Sometimes I get tempted, because sometimes like it's like little things where I just have to fight it. Like sometimes, even for example, like today with the groceries, like sometimes I'm tempted to lie and be like, come up with an excuse and try and come up with like a lie, instead of just but I'm choosing to just like accept like that I was wrong and that I made a mistake. And I think I've been surrounded by people, especially my wife and close friends of mine, where like I just don't really feel a need to lie to them. Kind of similar to my grandma. Like I just love them and I know that they love me, to where I don't need to lie to them, because like there's not gonna be like one mistake I did or one big thing I did where it's gonna be like the end all be all. Like even today like with getting the high sodium soup and like more milk that we needed to get, even with that, like, there's no need to lie about like me not meaning to get it or anything like that. I can just tell her the truth, and we could even laugh about it too, which is what happened. So, yeah, lying has been a big struggle, but I'd say that anybody listening to this, and if I were to talk to anybody about lying, like I can relate to people that lie a lot, but I'm proof, like living proof that like there's no need to lie. Like there's a better way.
Yeah, thank you for that. Actually, that was the next question I was going to ask is like how would you describe your self-control in high school?
Self-control in high school with lying or just like
With lying and just in general, like just abstaining from like temptation or anything that you felt like was morally bad.
I feel like I had pretty good control throughout high school, but I would say it started getting a little worse like my senior year. Because around then is whenever I was a bit more independent. Like I was able to get to school on my own. I was able to just do a lot of things on my own. I didn't really have to ask for permission a lot of the time. Sometimes I would just let my mom know. Because throughout high school, I like moved in different places. Like for the first year of high school, I switched between my dad and my grandma, but then ended up just staying with my grandma, and then I stayed with her for freshman and sophomore year. And then halfway towards my sophomore year, I ended up moving with my mom to San Antonio. And then while I was there, like from like the second semester of my sophomore year to like junior year, like it was pretty hard. I won't lie. But then, with my senior year, like I just had a lot more of like freedom. Like if I ever wanted to go somewhere, my mom just always told me like, if you gotta go somewhere, just give me a heads up. Like you don't have to ask me. You could just be like, hey, I'm going somewhere. I'll be back soon, and she'll accept that. And so I would say I tried to use my self-control or like the freedom I had like in a controlled way, but sometimes it was hard to not be self-controlled because I just had so much freedom and I was young and there was just so many things I could do that I ended up doing. But yeah, overall, I would say I had pretty decent self-control over high school.
Okay, awesome. So the next question is how often did you lie to your parents when you were in high school? Parents or grandparents?
My grandparents or my grandma, like rarely. Like I would even go as far as to say like probably never with my grandma. My mom though, like it'd be pretty frequently, pretty compulsively.
What kind of lies would you tell her?
Mostly white lies. Mostly lies to try and avoid a question. Like lies to try and cover other lies kind of deal. Yeah, so pretty frequently I would lie to my mom.
Okay, yeah. That was I would like to hear your remarks on this too, is like people who do lie, they end up like they have a motive so that they can keep a good facade for their parents so that they can be perceived as a good person, as a good kid. And so parents usually see their kids, and if they are socializing well, or if they have good grades, or they have a great friend group, or they have really good just social skills in general, the parents think that the child is doing great. But in reality, the kids are actually putting on a facade for their parents and lying to them and deceiving them so that they can be perceived as that good child. And so have you like done that when you were in high school?
Yeah, for sure. Really just with my mom. Like, to be for real, like junior, like the second half of my sophomore year and basically all of junior year, I didn't really have much friends. I was this Mexican kid that came from Brownsville, like out of nowhere in the middle of like the school year, and like nobody really wanted to talk to me. So it was really hard. I ended up like trying to befriend other people, like other lonely people, which was nice, but they weren't really like great friends in the sense that like they weren't really driven at all. They were just kind of just going through high school. They didn't really have plans to go to college. They didn't have plans to want to, like, at the time I was in high school band, and so these guys were like the people in like the bottom band, and I wanted to be like in the top band because I loved music and I wanted to be the best, but I didn't really surround myself with people like that. But then whenever I would talk with my mom, she would ask me how like friend groups were going. I would tell her like, oh, like friend groups are going good. I love like my friends. I have a lot of friends. They're all like good people. They're goal driven, like kind of deal. But that just wasn't the truth at all. But I would tell my mom that because I didn't want her to think that like I was struggling, and I want her to think I had everything under control. But I would say like I would put on this kind of like facade and kind of would make myself seem like one thing when that wasn't always the case. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It kind of confirms the study as well by saying that you would just lie to your parents because you really do want them to perceive you as a good child. And so in my study, it says that adolescents who attend church more often are more likely to lie because they don't think that religion is important to them as much as their parents do. And so another part of the study that talks about religion was when adolescents tend to not lie whenever they find their own religion themselves. So kind of going back to like your church attendance, did you believe that you developed your faith on your own, or was it just kind of forced upon you when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, I would say it was a bit forced upon me. Not really forced where it was like a threatening kind of way, but it was more just like kind of expected. Like it'd be Sunday, like especially growing up as a kid, it was like Sunday morning. You just kind of knew it, like, oh snap, we're waking up early. We're getting dressed with kind of fancy clothes. We're getting ready to go to this church thing where we sing songs. And at the time, I attended a Spanish-speaking church, and so it was just a lot. And I wasn't Spanish is a second language to me, and so it was kind of hard sometimes to engage like in worship or kind of pay attention in the group because it was just all in Spanish. I would like if it's between like those two like answers, like force or like my own, I would say force. I don't think it was really my own growing up.
Yeah, that answers all of my questions. Do you have any questions yourself for this study?
So a lot of the questions you've been asking, like have been questions that are written down, and you've been looking at studies and stuff. But like taking all the studies aside and the questions aside, like what do you believe? Like why do you believe people lie?
I believe people lie because they really do want to they want to self-deceive themselves and deceive other people as well. So like the person you're talking to, it might be because you want to impress them or you want them to perceive you as like a good person. And so you end up lying so that they can see a false idea of you that makes you feel better. And so that's why I believe people lie, is to just be seen as this good person. And sometimes people lie as well just because they want to please the other person. So like a people-pleasing person, if you notice, like they would lie to the person that they're talking to so that they can be happy, and when in reality they themselves feel unhappy, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's what I think.
Or okay, that was it. I was just wondering what you thought, because like a lot of the stuff you were saying was like it wasn't what you thought, but it was more like this is what the studies say, kind of deals. I just want to know what you thought.
Yeah, I mean the study kind of not aligns with my beliefs, but it's understandable as to like how like being forced into religion can make you want to lie. Because whenever you are forced into something, I feel like you just tend to lie because you just don't want to do it. But if you do really enjoy it, you're not going to lie. And so that's what the study kind of confirms, is if you pursue God and they find joy in that, it doesn't require the person to lie about it. And so because they truly love it. It's really cool to think about that whole part of how religion does play a factor in also our well-being, because lying can actually diminish like your lifespan and just your mental health, like from depression, anxiety, like it increases whenever you start lying. And it also brings like loneliness because you feel like you can't be the true person that you wanted to be. And so yeah, it's a cool study. Yeah. Thank you, Juan.